man, I just don't work this properly.
You should. Break out the webcam, just record it for a couple hours, turn it into like a 6-minute thing.
No, Evan is like more creative than all of us combined.
I know.
I need this. I need this thing. My bank account does not reflect it.
just do that with like some lo-fi music with it, and you just kind of watch it come together. That would be cool. I'm not gonna paint it. I'm not gonna paint it, but I'll watch someone else paint it if it looks cool. Let's see, we got OJ Player this here.
Just want to say that the N64 the GOAT conversation. Today, this week, it's disqualified, and GoldenEye's release proves it, and I will tell you guys right when we talk about it. Disqualified.
Okay.
Like LeBron James, disqualified from the GOAT conversation. Well, he's not. I'm just joking around. But yeah.
So we got Nate. Nate's here.
I am enjoying quality gaming this week.
I thought you were playing GoldenEye.
Yeah, I am.
The GoldenEye, the single stick setup on a dual analog controller. Okay. It feels terrible.
Why would it feel terrible? N64 is fantastic.
Everything's on the left side. Like playing with the normal thing. Stop throwing my own words in my face. I still love the Nintendo 64, but they could have programmed this in a way that wasn't ass.
Whoa. Disrespect. Right, what's going on over here?
So this week we did have the Xbox Direct, a bunch of games released. So there's quite a bit to go over here. But do we want to start with a Discord question, Evan?
All right. What do you think will be the next Resident Evil remake?
The next?
Yeah.
It should be Code Veronica.
Yeah. I do sincerely think it's going to be Code Veronica. And then I think we're going to get Resident Evil 9 and then Resident Evil 5 remake. They're going to do Resident Evil 5. They're just going to skip Code Veronica.
Probably.
I just don't think they will. I think that they're going to completely redo Code Veronica because it is a part of the timeline, but it's a really weird game.
What if they did Zero?
I think Zero is really hated. I just think that it is. They did the remaster of it recently, like just a couple of years ago, that I think fixed the controls a lot. But Zero is really, really, really hated.
But do you think they would pick it up?
But
do you think they would pick it up as a way to be like, let's fix this?
As redemption up.
Well, if they did, I think they should make it co-op. Because one of the main criticisms people have is that in Zero, you play with two different characters, Rebecca Chambers and Billy, the convict, and you have to keep switching between them. So doing one puzzle as yourself, handing the puzzle piece back and forth was a pain in the ass. If they didn't actually co-op, I would love to see a remake of that. Okay. Okay, have another one.
Thoughts on The Last of Us show on HBO?
Extremely good. Okay. I mean, we're what, 2 episodes in. I thought it's been pretty good. The ending of the last episode was a little strange. Like zombie kisses? What the? That part I'm like, that's weird. Okay, I guess. I think I liked the game's adaptation of that character, I'll say. Their exit is what I'll say. I think I like the game's adaptation of that exit as opposed to the show's. Well, they said, because I've been watching the like making of each episode, and they said that like in the game the military is much more present, but they thought that it didn't make sense in a TV show. Like if they're running from zombies, that makes sense, but if you're running from the military that have like the helicopters and bombs, they would catch up to you in 10 minutes. I like how they have it structured though, because they do pull from things like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, where they show a part that happened in the past at the beginning that relates to the theme of the episode. They do a good job with that. So I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but they still have the rest of the season to go, so we'll see.
And now season 2. Season 2 is confirmed.
Yeah, that'll be. I want to see that. I gotta see how that gets received. But we will see. Let's see. What do we want to start with tonight? We can start with GoldenEye.
Rip the Band-Aid off, Tom.
Yeah. Let's start with GoldenEye. GoldenEye 007 released from the 64, released onto the Switch and onto the Xbox. And it's got mixed receptions online. We needed to break out a diagram on how to play it on the Switch. But the controls are weird on the Switch, and the visuals and stuttering on the Xbox don't make any sense. So it is a As MVG said, a mess. It's on his channel. It's in the title. GoldenEye 007 is a mess.
Yeah.
Nate loves it though.
It's still a good game.
Sean lost his mind on camera over it, and Nate's like, that's cool.
You told us about your love life, Nate.
Hyperbole. That's all I'm saying.
You told us about your love life, Nate. We know you're attracted to messes. Come on.
Damn. We couldn't even get Sean to play online at all. And what did he do? All he did was talk about the online for GoldenEye for weeks building up to this. And as soon as I think he's played this game for all of 10 minutes. Now, long enough to get footage. The controls, I think immediately he's out.
He died playing, like, he died on the second or third game in the game level, and then he engaged it.
I will say this. These people that have been shilling the N64, I'm here to troll you guys tonight. You guys have been talking about how great N64 was better than GameCube. GameCube, all you need to do is just put it, you can't mess with the control. If it's the same control, how are those GameCube games controlled? They're not there, but that's okay. The point is,
sometimes that's okay.
The point is that you guys have nostalgia goggles on, and when you go back and you play it the same way that it was played back then, even if you have an N64 controller, you don't like it. No, I'm not saying you, Nate. I'm saying you, Sean, and Sean didn't use the N64 controller. That's the problem. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. He wants it to control like Call of Duty. That's what he wants to do.
And it does. That's the weird thing. Is the controls on Xbox are great.
That's what I'm saying. He wants it. It's rose tinted. These controls, the games are not that fantastic. You guys have exposed yourselves because the N64 right now. Look at this. You guys are all upset. This is one of the greatest games, right? Right now, the way Sean reacted to GoldenEye, if he was to play Metroid Prime with a GameCube controller, he'd say, "Why doesn't the other analog stick move it on?" No, because it has a lock on. No, because it has a lock. I don't know. I made a video today saying they ruined GoldenEye because I played it on Xbox and I played it on Switch, and I feel like both versions have problems. I feel like MVG's technical breakdown. I watched your video this morning, MVG, and it's great. Just showing the fact that textures are there's gaps in the environment and stuff. Character models are not loading properly. Like, no matter where you play this doesn't feel correct. Something feels off.
So, and I never really said this in my video, but I actually think the Switch version is the better version.
Correct.
Of the two, even with the controls. So now for me, I'm fine with the controls because I grew up playing an N64. I'm good with the control system. Even on the Switch with the Joy-Cons, I know how to play the game. But the difficulty in recommending the Switch version out of the box is, you know, if you load it up and you haven't really experienced those types of controls before, you're gonna just like, how do I play this game? And I think that's the difficult part. I mean, you can go in and configure it and change things around and get a decent control scheme out of it. But I think the point is for me, and really this is the only real criticism I have with the NSO version, which I think is the better version because it's more accurate, it's more faithful to the original game. But I think they should have just baked in a default control system where it's like, you know, anyone that's a random or just a casual can play this game, at least start figuring out how to move around in the game. That's the only thing I really have a criticism about on the Switch version. The video that I made today was really more about the Xbox version, which I think, honestly, is, again, it's a bit of a mess, right? There's just a bunch of small niggly issues, and it compounds itself into this version of the game, which you can just tell wasn't really made with a big enough budget at the end of the day. I think they just did the absolute minimum to get this game out the door on Xbox.
This was that situation of we got to rebuild it, but we don't want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a shame because that remake, if that remake didn't leak, and we saw that glimpse of it, I think we'd be like, that would have been cool. We played the remake, so we know it's good. And it's like, it's right there. Just get that.
Well, the other thing I did in my video today is like, there's emulators that can play N64 games at 60. And I've showed off one of the homebrew emulators, 1964, runs at 60 frames without any issues. So I just wonder, why didn't we get that? But again, I think It goes back to, I believe they wanted to balance these releases and have some type of parity between them where, no one version could excel in areas where the other one couldn't. In other words, one couldn't be 60 frames and the other one be 30. Like, I feel like there was a conscious decision made, and I don't know why, and I'm speculating that they just wanted to keep it as baseline as possible, only have a small amount of enhancements on the Xbox side, kind of keep it in parity with the Switch version.
I mean, Code Mystics went to Twitter and they said they could have gone 60, but when they had it running at 60, it introduced a number of problems.
You think like screen tearing or something like that, or something more
animations
the animations
and the animation. They didn't go into any extra detail as to what the problems were. But if their default was to go to 30 FPS over 60, there was a reason behind it. So, I mean, I would defer to their expertise on the matter. They were the developers behind the project, so whatever reasoning there was for it to be done, there seems as though there was a reason. And I don't think, like, Nintendo had any say of, we need parity between these releases.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. Otherwise, it wouldn't even have attempted or advertised, like, high resolution or 4K or anything like that.
I mean, is that 30 frames?
You're probably right in what you say, but then the question is, well, why didn't they get the source code from the unreleased XBLA version at that point and start using that?
Well, I mean, I think that introduces a kind of a different ripple to the conversation of if you didn't have the unreleased XBLA version and you still needed Nintendo's permission for this release to even happen, Nintendo could have looked at that and said, we're not giving permission for that. Because that also would then add another layer where how would they add the XBLA version to Switch? It would have to be a standalone release.
Yes, it would not be with NSO, that's correct.
Yes. Yeah. Now, when that happens, would that mean Microsoft is publishing that release?
Well, you would think so. You would think right.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden Nintendo's going to approve a version that would be a standalone release, not only on Xbox, but also Switch, where Microsoft would potentially be publishing it, and they're going to make the majority of the money. Whereas what we ended up, the solution is, this is going to Game Pass and Rare Replay, and it's going to NSO. There is no standalone version. No one can buy it. There is no extra revenue exchanging hands in this case. Whatever deal was struck, this is the money between the parties involved, and that's all there was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, at least it exists, I will say that, on modern platforms, but it's like, what could have been with this if everyone was fine and could agree on basically money?
I'm still enjoying it. Like, I beat it on the Xbox and I'm going through it on the Switch now.
It's a lot. Isn't it easy with that? I will say the joy analog setup makes it incredibly easy. Like, you were just.
It almost feels a little off to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really meant for that type of control.
No, it's auto aim as crazy as it is on it. So I guess if you turn that off, it would make it harder. You have auto aim on and you have both analog sticks rolling. You just roll through everyone. It's pretty hilarious because even like the second level, like the enemies just keep coming. You can pile up enemies in like a hallway because you just mow them down constantly.
I was in great mine. I was just going through them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I feel like auto headshots, everyone takes one hit, they die anyways. And they turn so slow, the NPCs are like, oh no, it's James Bond. Oh.
And the online is great too because you can still screen look at everyone, so it's funny. It is like the old days for that. Someone said, look, I saw online someone said you can make it so it's only one screen. You just gotta use the zoom feature on the Switch. Like, well, why wouldn't you want to see everyone's screen? You know, that's the point. You want to cheat. You want to cheat. You want to look at their screen and pretend like you did.
That's part of the strategy.
It's a gun, that's it.
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you screen lock?
You have to have a pact with everybody. Like, hey guys, you're all zooming it in.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah, I would lie. Once someone starts losing, they're zooming right out. Oh yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, we have diagrams and charts to set up your controls on the Switch. That's there. It's like a 8-step process and bar graphs and charts and stuff. I thought we didn't like that for Anthem, but it's fine for the Switch and setting up the
hyperbole. That's hyperbole.
Hey, all I know is apparently you can take the right Joy-Con and the left Joy-Con and just switch hands. I mean, handheld mode too. You just need some duct tape.
it simplifies the controller swap. You put it on 2.4 in the game settings. You use.
I'll bring decimals to this someday.
You then swap the Joy-Cons into the opposite hand, and it controls exactly like having two N64 controllers in your hand, like back in 1997.
Psycho.
You can do that if you want to replicate that. You can also buy two N64 controllers from Nintendo and do it, or you can use two Pro controllers. However you want to do it.
I synced up the Xbox controller and it just worked on the Xbox. It was weird. There have never been.
I'll be online on that game.
There's never been two Nintendo 64 controllers in the same room.
Yeah, has anybody been able to ever buy? It's impossible. Let me tell you how I got this one real quick, guys. All right, so I went on there. For some reason, it was not letting me buy it. And I was like, whatever. And I clicked off anything. Next thing you know, I got an email saying, "Hey, you got an N64 controller." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Nothing even went through. So even this controller was on accident.
I think my biggest gripe is the fact that it's the peer-to-peer where you're doing the online, because we did a couple online matches, me, Spawnwave, Nate, and BG, and it was going great until slow-ass Nate joined, and it bogged it down to
Because it connected to the wrong signal on my router. It went to the slower one. It went to the faster one. It would have been fine. But all of you quit after I win the one match I was there for.
Yeah, you won a match, but it was like this. You're like, I have footage of Nate just shooting a wall.
And then you died. I'm the only one who had more than one kill, and I won.
I have footage of MVG aiming a rocket at his feet and pulling the trigger.
Yeah, man. I did do that.
You wanted out so much.
He's like, helping me out. That was, yeah. It's a shame.
The multiplayer is janky as fuck, but it's still really fun to play. Like, if you have a good connection, I can definitely.
Or if you have the Xbox or you have people like that would come over and play, that's probably the best experience. Yeah. Well, there you go. GoldenEye is like kind of out. It's just it's two pieces need to fuse together and it'll be good. But it's never happening. In fact, probably in a couple of years, they'll just get taken away. And then we'll be like, oh, they took it away. And we'll reminisce and be nostalgic about that release. And
No. So what's going to happen is they're going to take it away. People are going to be outraged about it. And then, a couple of years later, no one's going to remember it. No one's going to care. And then, 5 years after that, people are going to be like, I wish we had GoldenEye again. And the cycle will just repeat itself.
Maybe that's when they drop the remake and clean up. Yeah, they're going to dead space it.
Dude, that remake doesn't exist. You never saw it.
No, they do pretend like it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Someone needs to ask someone in an interview about that. Someone at Microsoft, someone at Nintendo. Just drop the question on them out of nowhere.
Rare's kind of talked about in the last couple of years. They have gone someone higher up with the Nintendo said, no, it's not coming out. And that was the end of it. The next Treehouse, Nintendo killed it.
The next Treehouse about Zelda, you just need to drop the question midway.
Careful, mate. Nintendo listening, and they're on the story on that.
It's already out there. You find it online. You can Google it.
You said it.
Yeah. Hey, we're talking Pikmin 4 at Treehouse with Miyamoto, and you're halfway through. And the GoldenEye remake, though. Let's
We'd look at you and say, what are you talking about? Never get another interview again after that.
Yeah, true. I'm not supposed to be there in the first place. Why did they let me in?
From Miyamoto, it escorts you out back and they beat the living shit out of you.
You see, his bodyguards are actually kind of intimidating, though. You do be rolling around with some pretty...
I mean, you pretty much have to.
Yeah, there was a big old... I don't know what year was it, E3 2014 or 15, had a little area that was, closed off for, I guess it was, children to go, play at E3 or whatever. It was, the executives' kids and stuff like that. And, there was soccer. Yeah, and there was this big old dude that was just standing there. I'm like, oh, my God, yo, this is crazy. Well, hey, what's going on back there? He was looking at me like, I was like, oh, cool.
You got hired as security, yeah.
I just asked what's going on. I wasn't trying to go back there. Damn.
So GoldenEye, hey, if anything, if you're already on a subscription, it's a nice benefit to the subscription. So
it's still worth checking out. Just go
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Evan, we have a Discord question over there.
Actually, one for GoldenEye. I'm sure it's deliberate on everyone's part. Do you think it's weird how you can't purchase GoldenEye digitally anywhere?
Yeah, it's definitely deliberate. Yeah,
it's deliberate.
Yeah, you can't add it to the physical copy of Rare Replay because you can buy that. turn it off on you then, I guess. So, then you
You're not throwing it. You have access to play the game.
yeah, basically.
This will be nothing more than a fleeting memory. What next major upgrade would you like to see to controllers?
Upgrade.
I'd like a Sony controller with good battery life.
I was going to say the same thing. A Sony controller that has replaceable batteries and has good battery life.
This is I did a video about it. This is the new controller. I tested it. It's about a 4.5 hour battery life. I realized this is $200. I realized I would pay $200 for just a controller with like a 40-hour battery life. Yeah, I guess battery life for Sony is their biggest thing. They've never really had a good battery life either. For the controller. I swear, maybe I'm misremembering, but I swear that the PS4 had a 15-hour battery life. I thought. We used to make fun of that battery too, though.
I've never caught 15 hours out of
We used to make fun of the PS4 battery all the time. Once they did the dimmer patch, I thought they did, but I could also.
I think it varies on the game, but Last of Us Part 2 for some reason just eats the battery. I charged it multiple times in my phone. Something hours. I think about 20 hours when it definitely had to hit the charge at least 3 times. That's for me. It could be different for other people based off of, I don't know,
We're getting used to it. Like the Xbox Elite controller has like a 40-hour. The Switch Pro controller has like a 40-hour, and now we're talking about this PlayStation controller. It's like 4 to 5 hours. It's like, dude, it's insane.
Yeah, it's like some of the cool third-party controllers on Sony, like they don't have like support for like the 8-bit stuff, you know? Like I don't think they do. I know there's some, but it'd be nice because then you can say, okay, well at least I can just use this controller for it, you know?
What's a Xbox controller with just regular batteries?
25 hours
Yeah, it's better.
for 2 AA's, yeah. So that's manageable. Basically, it's the point where you can play.
My schedule's pretty fantastic. I've got 2 free birthday parties on Saturday, and Sunday, that's my time. Works for me.
Works for me.
That's where I'd like Sony to get to. But as always, next generation. I'd like to charge for my Xbox and for my my Switch controller. Like whenever I see that your battery is low, I'm always surprised. Like it's always so low. Like, oh, I need to charge it. Whereas like I literally charge every PlayStation controller every day. So I did see someone mention the idea of what temperature in your controller, either cold or hot. That sounds like there's a lot of things that go wrong with that one. And we're trying to come up with different ways to, I guess, make it more immersive. But I feel like the advanced rumble combined with speaker is almost over there. Like the DualSense does feel very alive for the 5 hours that's alive.
You gotta touch the controller, right? Like the touchpad, the haptic feedback, all that stuff, the pressure sensitive triggers. I mean, that's enough right there that they can kind of reiterate on. So that's already enough pretty cool, new, maybe not, super new, but still new in the sense of like they haven't been exactly like how Sony's doing it. Right? So that's good enough.
It's probably that a lot of these controllers, especially the DualSense, it has haptic, it has all those features, but so few games actually utilize them in a meaningful way. And then you have the Xbox controller, which really doesn't have that many features, which people would love for it to have gyro, haptics, and those types of features. Then you have like the Switch controller, you would love it to have digital rare buttons, similar to analog, digital now. So it's like every controller for every company you could look at and say, I would love to have this feature enabled on the controller. And then you have the PlayStation 5 controller, which has a lot of features we want. You just don't see them utilized to their fullest.
And it's because they all need that. I think they all need to be mostly in there for third parties to actually develop for them. Otherwise, you need to get a timed exclusive or just an exclusive that goes all in on it.
But sometimes even first party stuff doesn't even use it. Not that it matters too much, but like Fire Emblem Engage, like there's like almost no usage of the HD Rumble or anything like that.
That's the thing I'll give Sony, like, Returnal uses that DualSense like crazy. So you do get some of these first parties from Sony at least, but they kind of have to because they have to. That's like the most next gen thing they have right now with their PS5s. Otherwise, it's like visuals better, the frame rate's better.
Yeah, Returnal. I was playing that so much and it just cooked.
That melts the DualSense.
Yeah, I had to turn it off. I love the dual, but I'm like, I gotta turn this off.
Yeah.
Like that, because I was playing that game so I was playing it at least 5-6 hours a week. I was getting my ass handed to me.
So let's actually, I do want to keep that in mind and make for a game where I talk about the Xbox controller. Because that was something I noticed.
It was haptics with that game. Oh,
let's actually move to that Xbox Developer Direct. We're going to talk about the Developer Direct, then we can talk about Hi-Fi Rush. I'm going to kind of keep them a bit separate. Because the Developer Direct, alright, so they announced it. I don't know if I'm still on board with the name, although it makes more sense now after seeing the presentation. Because they just went to each studio and had developers talk directly to the viewer. Okay, that makes sense. Minecraft Legends, that was first up, coming out April 18th. I don't know if this is a game for me. But if I was really into Minecraft, I'd probably love what I'm seeing. Or this is great, I'm gonna jump into it. But I kind of saw it and I said, oh, that's fine, I guess, for Minecraft. It at least looks different than just Minecraft. So it kind of has that RTS style to it, basically.
Just admit it. None of us are into that.
I don't think any of us are interested in Minecraft Legends, but I can't sit here and say it's not gonna. It's gonna go out, and you know it's gonna jump to like the top of the charts because it's Minecraft.
It's going to do well.
I don't know.
I'm just talking. I was already old when that wave, Minecraft hit. I was already well past it, so I just never got into it. Trying to play with my daughter. I was just like, I can't do it. I just let her play for a couple of days.
I have to at least recognize that it's gonna draw a lot of attention, at least in general, and have a lot of downloads and probably go up to Xbox charts like Grounded did. I wasn't really into Grounded, but it was number 3 or something on the Xbox charts. Well, at one point,
the Minecraft game that came out recently.
Dungeons.
Yeah, I played that. And it's cool. It's just It's like,
you want to recognize Fransby, become a new member. Thank you, Fransby. Let's see. Then we did have, after that, Forza Motorsport 2023. No release date. That is a shame. In fact, I was so close to giving this like top grades across the board, and then they flashed 2023 for Forza, and I was like, They show up to a showcase where everyone's giving dates for their games, and it's still 2023. And it sounds like this game's coming out second half. Like it's.
Nate last week hinted that it may not get a date.
We said a month ago Forza might come out. And remember Sean said like a month ago that Forza.
Run the video. What did you say last week? What was your quote that you said?
At the end of the show, saying we might have an Xbox reaction when Microsoft doesn't beat Forza and it gets delayed.
Oh, so you think it's going to get delayed in 2023?
No, it's just delayed.
No.
It was supposed to be out.
It was supposed to be spring, and then they only came back in with the 2023 date.
Okay.
Meaning it has been delayed outside of the first half of the year.
Okay, my bad. I didn't know that.
And I mean that's why they're not assigning it a date yet. They're still trying to find a slot for it in the upcoming schedule in the second half of the year. But as MVG and I discussed in our reaction episode, I don't think this negatively hurts Microsoft.
Yeah,
because
it's not a big deal.
It isn't, and it can benefit them in a way that if June is the month Starfield lands, the Forza delay makes a lot more sense.
June coming in September. It's coming in September. June.
Well, even now with Redfall, Redfall being May, Microsoft last year had nothing. So the fact that they already dropped the game, and then even if we have to wait 3 months or 4 months, whatever, that's fine. At least there's a solid, somewhat flow of games. So to me, it's like, I don't think it even matters. Even if Starfield was maybe a little bit later, maybe that's like September. That's also fine too. They can just drop Forza at the end of the year. That's 4 good, solid games for the year, which is significantly better than last year, obviously. So I don't, I'm not
that was their target. I think when they get everything spun up was a big game per quarter, or a big release for them per quarter. And that would kind of fit into it then, because even if Hi-Fi Rush and then Minecraft and then Redfall, skateboards. Starfield. I mean, I don't know if they had something else, but they could. I mean, I Rush came out of nowhere, so it's possible. But I will admit, I was kind of hoping Forza would be sooner rather than the second half of the year, just because when they showed it, it looks pretty good. Like, technically speaking, it is an impressive-looking game, and the problem we're running into now is the streams for anyone, really, does not do the game justice. Because we're seeing games that are, like, native 4K, ray tracing, all those things, and it comes to this crushed, compressed YouTube streams, and it still doesn't look great until you go and look at the 4K footage that they upload, and then it's like, okay, this is what it was supposed to have looked like.
Did you say we're doing anything tomorrow?
Going to the doctor.
Where at?
Urbana.
I'm shocked at how good it looks.
Me?
4K,
Yeah.
60 ray tracing.
Okay.
It's
We have to leave here about 8:15.
Hey, Grandma.
What?
Do you think we could do like the good old days? Remember when we used to eat at the Dear Dutchman?
Well, that's the wrong direction.
It is? Do you think...
Yeah, we go past Walmart.
Okay. Do you think I could at least get food though somehow?
We'll see.
Like, it depends what restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
Or we
if...
have to leave here at 7:45.
Doesn't matter if it's Taco Bell or McDonald's or either one.
I don't know.
So we like drive through Bone Mountain?
Let's see.
I thought we usually took the highway. No, never mind. That was for my eye doctor, right?
Yeah.
So I suppose it doesn't really matter. I could choose either one tomorrow because we're going by Taco Bell or Mickey D's.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well choose the Crunch Wraps because I can't eat them.
obviously moving towards the simulation side of things, so people have like the big chair set up with the racing wheels and stuff are probably loving what they're seeing. So there's apparently a campaign. They talked about it for 5 seconds. So I didn't even catch that. Yeah, at the end. Hey, there's a single player campaign. All right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So hey, it's still Forza. Looks good. Looks like it's gonna be a good time. So I guess we'll see when that ends up releasing. What do you think, Nate? I mean, you said they don't have it set up yet. I think August sounds nice. I think that's a good month.
Here looking August, September, the usual window where you see Forza and Forza Horizon games land. At the absolute latest, I would go into the first half.
Yeah, Horizon 5 in November. If I remember right, yeah, because then Halo
Yeah, it was a week
following along.
before the Halo multiplayer release.
Yeah, so I don't think it's gonna. That seems really late for Forza Motorsport. Like November, I'd be surprised if it went that far.
I'm thinking late summer, very beginning of fall.
That sounds right. I'm gonna move over to Elder Scrolls Online Necrom. It's launching in June, it's an expansion.
Cool, man.
I don't play Elder Scrolls Online, and then they were like, here's all the downloadable content you can just get now. It's like 20 pieces, and I'm like, that seems like I'm not going to catch up. So that's the end of that.
I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Elder Scrolls Online, where they say you can play it as a single-player game. You don't have to do it as a MMO part. You can just enjoy it as though it is a never-ending Elder Scrolls game if you want. And for them to give you that amount of content, and just the visual fidelity of the game is very impressive. It's such a time sink. I don't have that many hours left in my life. And
Yeah,
I have to go to a game.
I'm not saying it's a bad game or anything. It's not something. That's the thing with MMOs. They build up so much content that you have to dedicate basically everything to it to get caught up, for you to feel relevant in the game.
I put like 100 hours into it, and I felt like I barely did the tutorial. The game is almost too big.
Then we did have Redfall. That is coming out May 2nd. We kind of knew that from the rumors. People seem split on this game. I noticed online, some people are like, this looks great. Other people are like, what, this game looks terrible. I think people are still viewing it as Left 4 Dead, which is weird, because it definitely is now coming off as that Far Cry experience. They were attempting attempting to describe to us in that article. It's still it's
like
hard.
it.
It's
I love
Arcane Austin. They did Prey. They did Dishonored.
They never made a bad game.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm on board with this to at least try it when it comes out. It looks like it's that multiplayer experience. As much as they want to say you can play through a single player, this looks like a multiplayer game where you want to have some people with you.
Does, but I will say that let's not sleep on the single player stuff too, because there's a lot of stealth. Like they showed stealth perks and all that, and obviously you're not going to be able to do that with multiplayer. So I think if the stealth is very well implemented, I think that the single player could be a bit better. I do agree with you though, John. Like it is more of a multiplayer experience, so it's probably be more fun that way. But some of that stealth stuff looks really cool.
I'm actually intrigued by the single player aspect of the game. I can see myself playing this solo, but then also getting a group of friends together to attack some of it in co-op. And I think the Direct demonstrated the strength of both of these modes for the game, because there was a lot of uncertainty about the game leading up to the developer Direct. I think Arcane and Microsoft did the best they could to explain the game in a cohesive manner and to show gameplay to illustrate the focus of the title and just the aesthetic, the gameplay, the in-game mechanics that they showcase with the skill tree, how the loot and perk systems work. It feels very fleshed out, and you can tell this isn't a Left 4 Dead clone. This is its own thing. This is Arcane at its purest form, delivering us their next experience. And I can't wait for May 2nd. The game is now on my radar, and I want to play it. And up till, this week, I definitely had my hesitations about the title. But right now, I'm going in with optimism. And
I'm curious how the skill tree and the progression works. I don't know if you're getting experience for every creature you're killing, and then you throw it into the skill tree, or you get certain items as you loot things, and that gives you a node in your skill tree. I say node because we're playing Dead Space right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you get items like that, and then you jump your skill tree, you accumulate experience as you do missions and other things. So I think there's still a lot they have to go into, and that's the problem. I feel like this is a difficult game to just showcase in 5 minutes. It feels like they want to keep telling us about it, but they're like, we just don't have enough time. So we'll see you in, I'm sure, another video that'll follow up, and then another one, and then another one. So I think there's still a long road for the promotion.
Remember how many times we saw Deathloop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when the game came out, it was received very, very well. So I don't think there's any issue with telling people over and over again what it's all about. But I also understand, that it still has a Left 4 Dead vibe to it, right? Even though it's not a Left 4 Dead style game at all.
It does, yeah.
It just has that kind of feel to it,
The enemy selection as well.
Yeah.
And
vampires and all that stuff,
I think I'm most curious about how progression, I'm kind of curious about shared story progression, and I guess I'm curious about, end game, because it sounds like we are going to clear out the island and eventually save Redfall. So I'm kind of curious, if 3 of us teamed up and burned through that game in a weekend, I wonder if there's some sort of in-game quests or bosses, or if it is going to be like Far Cry, and once the guy's dead, the villain's dead, it's just over. I'm kind of curious if they add on to the city later with DLC or something.
Oh, I think they probably will, yeah.
I'm just curious to see how progression is going to work at the later stages of the story. I could kind of see this being like Arcane Sea of Thieves almost, where we're just going to see content added to it consistently for potentially years even, if it's successful, because they're still looking for ways for engagement and monthly active users, and that's one of the best ways to keep people having a subscription with Game Pass is you have games just continue to go on and on and on. So I see that as Redfall, but I'm at least curious about it to see how a lot of the mechanics and everything works. So looking forward to May 2nd when that releases, but probably I guess the highlight, the star of the show is definitely a game that we heard about this game going into it, but we just heard the title. We didn't really know what it necessarily was, especially the visual style of everything around the game in terms of the mechanics. Hi-Fi Rush gets announced, and then they shadow drop the game. Hey, it's available an hour after. It was maybe less than an hour, because I feel like like, people were saying, oh, it's up on the shop now. And I looked, I'm like, it's only like 45 minutes. But it was there. You had to search for it, and then it was like, oh, claim this on Game Pass now. But it is a single-player rhythm action game. And I heard that. I was like, oh, rhythm game? I don't know. And then I see it, and they're talking about it, and I'm like, this looks like a Saturday morning cartoon with a, like, anime twist to it, and then you play it, and they're like, oh, yeah, all your actions land on the beat automatically, but if you're able to time the beat yourself, you get benefits and advantages and harder hits and all this stuff, and the game is great. It is really good.
It's fantastic. It's Rhythm Heaven meets Beautiful Joe, meets Devil May Cry, meets Fooly Cooly, and it nails every single one of those notes. This game was a pure project of love, and you can tell through just the gameplay, the music, the animation, and the way it transitions from the animated sequences to the game is just so seamless. It's a phenomenal game. If you have Game Pass, Steam, any way you can play it, play this game. It's going to go down as one of the best releases of 2023.
Any chance for a physical release?
I know, right?
Dude,
I want to buy a deluxe edition for my collection. It reminds me, it feels like, to me, it felt like Guitar Hero and Jet Set Radio had a baby. Yeah, I definitely Jet Set Radio vibes to it. Like, the soundtrack, the amount of custom songs that they made for the thing that just feels so good. And one of my favorite things about Jet Set Radio Future was how the characters would dance when you weren't doing stuff, and the main character does that, where he's always snapping to the rhythm. Yeah. Yes, me and my friends used to all the time do the Jet Set Radio dances as a joke. So I don't know. The fact that he does that is like so cool. The whole universe dances, and it does that. Yeah, it does thing where he's snapping. It's a snap above his hand. Like it kind of has that tongue-in-cheek, like self-aware vibe to it. And it is parts of it are pretty corny, but it plays into that completely with the aesthetic and the tone and all this. And it's genuinely creative for some of the enemies you're fighting against. As Nate mentioned, the entire world goes along with the beat. The cutscenes, things in the background, it's very weird. It's live. You start to notice it as you're you start to notice it as you go. And they have a streamer mode, so if you turn it on, it'll get rid of any of the licensed music, and it will just play their original music, so you won't get copyright or anything.
And the music of all is phenomenal. The licensed music is all in the boss sequences, but the original music just for the standard exploration.
Yes. Nine Inch Nails is the first boss theme, and they just spring out. You like walk into a room, and a lady just shows up, and she's like, "Hey, I'm the first boss," and she plays like a cheering soundtrack for herself, and then it just starts blasting Nine Inch Nails. I think I'm on the last boss. I'm right before the scene. How many hours is it? I think I put 6 hours into it so far. Yeah, I don't think it's an incredibly long game. It's a $30 title. Outright, but it's a fun game, and I didn't think it'd be that into like the rhythm-based stuff. You can play it without it completely. Like all your attacks will land normally, your combos, but you get those big crushing hits if you line all your combos up on the beat. It's pretty cool when it comes together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't care about the rankings of getting an S rank, you can kind of almost disregard the rhythm aspect when it comes to battle. And just enjoy it for what it is, and it'll still be a very good game.
You do have progression through it, too, because you'll get essentially currency and ships, and you put them into extra abilities for your companions that can jump in, and it has like this Metroidvania vibe to it, because there are certain parts you can't go to until you get your companions that can break through things or go past obstacles, and there's all kinds of stuff to buy and level up in the game, too. So there's a lot going on there. They said this has been in development, or at least it was conceptualized in 2017. So this isn't something that just popped up last year. They've been at least thinking about it for a while, and that's interesting coming from Tango. I would not have expected this from the people who made Evil Within. It's so good. I'm like the biggest Evil Within sim, but I'm like, man, I hope we get a fucking Hi-Fi Rush 2.
Yeah, this has to become a franchise.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah, it's a good new IP for Microsoft. I would do it. I back the Brinks truck up now to Tango. Yeah. You're like, what else you got? What other characters are you thinking of? What franchises would you like to make? Because they got some creativity over there.
This is like exactly the type of game that people were, like we were discussing a week ago, for could say, oh, you know, AAA Sphere is becoming so redundant. We need something original. We need new ideas. And here comes Tango with Hi-Fi Rush. Isn't that exactly what people have asked for?
You know what this feels like, Nate? This feels like a game that would have come out of Sony Japan Studios.
It feels like a Sony Japan, even rather than Nintendo studio.
This would have been fine on a Nintendo Direct.
Oh, yes, without question.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, cool. This looks good. On Xbox, it's like, really?
This came from a Microsoft-owned studio? Wait a minute. Tango made this. The guys were trying Evil Within. Well, you think this way, Tokyo? But wait a second, and then you play it, and everything just hits. Very good.
It was so funny though. A lot of people, when you said that with it feels like it would come up from like Nintendo or Gravity Rush. See, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Kitty, you know, this not, oh that was great. Oh that was great art style. No more Kitty. That's not a problem now. That's fantastic. I'm not talking about everyone. I'm talking about certain people. Okay, certain people. Will not name any names, but certain people. Kitty this, Kitty that. Oh my God, great game. That's oh my God. Oh, it's vibrancy. Oh, this game is fantastic.
I mean, that's it. Like the color and the vibrancy, it's right from that GameCube, Dreamcast, PS2 era.
Yeah, it is.
From their golden era, and it's just great. And I know you're going to bring this up. Had the Xbox controller had haptic feedback?
Yes.
Just to go with the beat, have the controller serve as the metronome.
It wants to. The whole time, it wants to. But it's so limited with the basic rumble it has, and it can't quite do it. But it tries. I'll give it that. The little controller tries.
Yes. It would have elevated it to a whole new level if the controller had the haptic metronome. But
or what if there was a speaker on the controller? Right?
Even that,
I'm telling you.
If it had the speaker with that rumble type feature as you're playing it in the boss battle sequences, you'd just be taken back by the feedback.
Microsoft, you gotta get on it. If they'll do it with the DualSense Edge, so it'll be like a 35-minute battery life because the speaker will drain the battery.
Okay, prediction. Xbox Super looking forward to this Saturday.
Apparently there's an Elite 3 that's in the works, and there are some extra features that they were talking about. I think haptics might have been one of them, but you still have to account for the basic control. That's the problem. You have to account for it.
And they're kind of committed to their kind of base controller this generation. So, I mean, they could come out with some type of update, but that makes it even worse. You kind of fragmented things now because, you got not even half your audience, you got like 1/8 your audience, for example, that wants haptics because they have a fancy controller and everyone else just has a basic controller. So I feel like they need to kind of get to the next version of their hardware in order to introduce haptics. They could. I mean, I know Bill's kind of expressed wanting to do it in interviews and stuff, but it's hard to imagine them adding haptics now, kind of in the middle of the generation. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, let me ask you, Minji, how does that's the development process, getting the haptics synced up and programmed and designed for your game? It is?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not that complicated. Like, I did the haptics
when I remember you said that when you were right, yeah.
And it's not like super complicated, but there's definitely work that you need to do. So what we did was I added haptics to the controller, and I also routed the audio, like low frequency audio. So when you shoot the shotgun or the rocket launch, whatever, it makes kind of a rumble in your hand as well, along with the haptics. But the actual development time to add haptics, it's not really that much work. But I will say that you can add them in pretty quickly, but making it feel right requires a lot of other people to kind of play test it and be like, does it feel good to you? And kind of A/B testing. Because I remember when we were doing Quake, there were a lot of people that I wanted that tested it out to see how it felt, and some people really liked it. A lot of people I don't like this effect, and I'm going to turn it off. And I think that's a personal preference. I know personally for me, sometimes some games that have haptics are so annoying that I gotta turn them off. But it's really more about how it feels to the player more than the text. I mean, it's pretty easy
I mean, it definitely surprised a lot of people because it was being built up like it was going to be this big, title maybe a couple months from now or something. I don't know, it's out now. And the polish around the game, it makes no sense for just shadow dropping because it is very polished.
The level of production in the game is top notch.
Yeah, so apparently, according to Phil Spencer, it was Tango's idea to do it, to shadow drop the thing. So, again, back up the bricks truck. Let's get them going.
I saw some interviews, and the director of the game said we started it before, Game Pass was a thing. Before we were on Game Pass, before Bethesda stuff was going to Game Pass. And he's like, we were just working on it as this great secret game, and then Game Pass came along, and that's when they got the idea of, let's just drop it. Let's just finish it and drop it.
Yeah, so I guess the good thing is that if people can, if they see it, they like it, they can go download it or buy it right away. I guess one of the cons is you don't have any reviews at all ready to go, so you kind of have to wait to see people.
Yeah, it's okay to mix turn the industry on its head sometimes and not have a bunch of reviews ready to go that people spend hours grinding out to get the review ready to go.
Hey, Grandma.
I will.
It'll be the last.
Well, this is a game that's reviewing well now, so that's one that if the reviews hit and it was like, oh, it's a 90, we'd be like, oh, okay.
We also have, today's day, we have instant reviewers. We have Twitch and we have YouTube.
That's true.
Instantly go on there and get impressions. So that also, maybe it's not so good 10, 15 years ago to do something like that, but today's day, it's I agree,
I like the shadow drop.
Yeah,
I like
it. It's a little scary for them, but they're probably
right.
It works out.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely that gamble involved in it. And now, I guess the only drawback from it being a shadow drop is now we have that uncertainty of will there eventually be a retail release? Because I would go with that to buy it.
Dude, if they drop a super deluxe edition, I'm buying the best edition.
I'm waiting. I wanted to go pick it up. I don't have Game Pass, but I don't mind paying $30 for the game. That's fine. But yeah, if I'm gonna pay $30 for the game, I would have loved to give me $50. I'll pay $50 for this. I'll pay.
That would be really well for you on stream too.
Yeah, I bet absolutely. But I want a physical copy.
As long as you can keep the beat, you gotta keep the beat on the stream.
Yeah, I would just like a physical copy. I'm not the biggest fan of just of buying digital. If I'm gonna spend $30 for it.
Hey, Grandma.
I'll probably just cave in and just get it,
If they could do a physical copy, they probably should include an 808 plush.
Yeah.
To get people in, because that cat has now resonated with everyone online because the internet loves cats.
Yeah.
Very funny. Give me a still case. Give me a cat. Give me a cat game that's actually good. It's really good. Yeah.
The entire presentation came out to about 40 minutes. I think 40, a little more than that. So this I think went over pretty well. 5 different studios talked about games. They're less than 10 minutes each, and it went, I think, way better than when they did the Xbox State of Play, and now Microsoft the Developer Direct. We're good now going forward. Everyone has a show.
I think this is the tightest thing they've done. I think they've had reveals that got me more excited, or like E3s that were bigger, but this was probably their tightest show where it was just all good.
Yeah.
Well, they let the developer talk about their game, showcase their game, and you ended it with the chalk type of fun. Here's a release date, so this project. Very good. I think overstated welcome. It was all very brisk and just kept moving.
I don't think we really get that stage, that live stage presence every time either. I think most of these companies should save that for something really meaningful, like new console reveal to start a new generation. That's when you actually get people together, like Nintendo did the Switch, where it was all on stage and actual people were there and they were filming with the media there. I feel like when you should do that. Otherwise, the pre-recorded stuff where you let the people who make the games talk about the games, doesn't work. So that's how I prefer. And let's keep it like 30 or 40 minutes. I don't think we need 2 hours.
Did you cancel the book right now?
Yeah, I did.
What for?
Because we gotta get the furnace
I think
fixed.
that's not being said enough about how much
And is that your confidence that we get the weekend now?
structure. You seem to tighten things up a bit, but I'll take this over.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna see a showcase that has Fable, Perfect Dark, something like that in there, right? You're like, okay, this is a way better strategy to go about showing this.
A couple days.
The format is better. It's direct to the point. They're not trying to be all coy with people like live ice doing this with Rainbird or whatever his name is. Like, I'm just get rid of that shit. I'm so happy they decided to ditch all that, which they kind of have to because all that stuff wasn't working before. I actually fell asleep during one of the presentations not too long ago. This one I was wide awake. I didn't use the gumball sleeping that I use usually. I have like a gumball sleeping. Didn't have to use the gumball. I was awake the whole time. It was good. It was to the point. It wasn't too long. I love this format. Good stuff. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. Good. Looking forward to that. They said they will get E3. Go figure. So I assume Starfield presentation will be up next. They said they'll be. They'll have it. Yeah, and then Phil Spencer got asked again about IGN, and he said, "Well, we timed it up so that it's at E3." So yeah.
Did he say E3 or did he say June?
I think it's a June. I think it's June.
Ooh, what's that mean?
I don't know. They expect nothing.
Is it time for the receipts once? I feel like we've been here before, Nate. Have we been here before? I feel like we've been here before where you called me on something, and then what did I do? I got the receipts. Like, I'm looking at the receipts now at IGN.
Did they specify either?
There were some questions about whether or not that would mean the Xbox would actually be at E3. That seems to be unclear. I'm wondering if you could give me a little clarity on that. Will Xbox be at E3? I read this next sentence. This is from Phil Spencer. We picked our time for a showcase specifically so that we're there. E3 is just to me one of those seminal moments in all the industry going down to LA, thousands of people there, getting to see great new things, getting to see people in the industry, the fan favorites we've had. I definitely want to continue. Xbox the board, ESA. We'll be there.
Yeah, it's a lot of marketing speak.
It was a prepared statement.
As I said, we're on board. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help make the E3 successful. Nate's 0-2. E3 is going to be in June.
Okay. Let's see if Microsoft's at E3.
They'll be across the street if they're...
That's not E3.
Oh, come on, Nate. Come on.
So what's the limit?
Very specific thing. That's like saying that that's because they had an event during Jeff Keighley's month of cleaning.
So are we saying Microsoft wouldn't buy a booth at E3, but would do their thing across the street during E3? Is that what you're saying, Nate? That's what we're aiming for with Microsoft not being at E3?
Well, depending on how you want to take Phil Spencer's statements, them being at E3 could just be we're having business meetings. So if there's no booth at E3, would you then say Phil Spencer live in January?
If if there's no booth at E3?
I mean, they don't have a playable booth at the LA Convention Center. Would you say they're live?
I think that you could buy an E3 pass and go see whatever Xbox is doing. That's the stipulation I'm saying.
They're gonna be at E3, Nate. They'll be within proximity of it. It says right here.
Proximity. You're either at the convention center with a booth or you're not.
Were they at the convention center with a booth last time?
When was that, like 6 years ago? E3 hasn't existed for 2 years.
The last time E3 happened, did they have a booth there?
Was, what, 2019?
Around 2021 or something. When was that? 29? No, when was that? When was the last in-person E3?
2019, I was there.
4 years ago? Did you see Xbox there?
Yeah. While some folks see garbage time, FanDuel sees chances to bet until the final whistle. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That was the year where they were like pimping Terminator and everything. They had Terminator, the Gears of War, and Terminator.
Oh yeah. That was weird.
Was that and the Terminator on the stage and stuff?
Nintendo had Luigi's Mansion 3, they had Link's Awakening, they had Astral Chain? Maybe that was Luigi's Question. But yeah, Nintendo was there too. That was the last in person.
Yeah, that was pre-pandemic.
They're still calling Project Silent then? For Xbox?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I hear that now. I looked up the floor plans. I don't think Nate needs that too.
If they're not there, we'll play back with it.
Ominous Nate.
What episode is this? This is, what's today? What's today? 303. 28. Nate's not having a good run recently, so.
The stipulation is that they do not have a booth.
I want everyone to know.
We gotta make this face and stuff. Oh, face reveal. Nate, face reveal if they're there.
Nate's not
Even if they're not there. You get your dick sucked.
Nate's not been having a good run recently, so he's posted pictures of Geno Smith and Dak Prescott in back-to-back weeks for the 49ers, and guess what he did 2 or 3 days ago? He posted a picture of Jalen Hurts. So I'm sorry if the Eagles lose, it's Nate's fault. Okay, everyone can find Nate. It's his fault.
I think that Geno Smith's the most prolific passing quarterback out of the state. Funny enough.
Is that funny? I don't know what that means.
Just say. You don't have the most touchdowns. He's the most prolific passing quarterback out of those 3 years. Just how it is. Yeah. 1,000 yards this season.
He plays millionaire catch better than the other millionaires.
Oh, he's getting a big payday this year. He's getting a big payday this upcoming.
Evan, we have this question over there?
After the Xbox show, I thought about checking out ESO until I discovered it is not on PC Game Pass. Why do you think that Microsoft has not added it to that part of the Game Pass?
Wait, what happened to Evan?
Elder Scrolls on.
Oh, really?
That's weird.
Huh, I'm not sure. So, they have some weird stuff between the two of them.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a lot of contractual agreements.
that's interesting. I'm not sure why. I feel like I know more than Elder Scrolls Online right now. Yeah, another one.
I was wondering if MDG had thoughts on the excuses for bad performance in DRM in Atomic Heart. Apparently, there's a quote claiming that DLSS will get back the lost frame rates for DRM. Is that something they posted up?
I don't really know anything about it, so it's hard for me to say anything. But in general, I know Denuvo, assuming that's what it is. It's never been proven, but there's always these suspicions that DRM fucks with frame rates because it uses uses processing power. But aside from that, I can't really see. So no, that's the situation. I mean, a couple of years ago, I remember Capcom when they did Village on PC, it ran like absolutely terrible. And then they removed Denuvo or something, and it
Doom did that too, right? Doom had a DRM that ran like shit and then patched it out and ran perfectly.
How does Denuvo keep pretending like they don't affect performance? They constantly say that in their press releases and on their website, and we have so many case studies of Denuvo being removed from a PC release, and all of a sudden, it jumps 20 frames per second for everyone. It's like, I don't get it. Batman, wasn't there like a big release a couple years ago where it ran really bad and then people cracked it and the hacked version ran really good?
Well, there were some releases where it was simultaneous between, I think, GDG or something, where they didn't have the built-in DRM, but then the other versions did, and then DRM was...
Well, we've had big releases where it got pirated like 24 hours later and they unlocked the Nuvo and removed it. So the people who illegally got the game were getting a better experience than people who paid money for it. That's so goofy. Isn't that weird? Yeah. What a time.
Well, the point about the Nuvo is like you buy it for maybe like the first 6 months or something because you want to maximize sales, and after that you just kind of take it away because the game probably ends up on GOG anyway at that point, or no one's buying that game unless it's on a Steam discount at that point.
Let's go over some of the super chats. Jeff D says Eagles. We'll see what happens. Matthew says shout out to Pizza Tower, just released on Steam. I have not played Pizza Tower.
There's good things about Pizza Tower. Honestly.
Oh, okay. TJ says, pour one out to PC players without an Xbox like myself who felt misled when Microsoft said 007 was coming to Xbox Game Pass, but it didn't. Why is that? Oh, it's not on PC.
Oh, I know why. Because they don't want people modding it and hacking and extracting the ROM out of it and all that stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
That means that they don't control it. That's why it's not on PC.
It's a very touchy release. Wow. Travis with the little bird sticker. Thanks, Travis. Joe says, thoughts on Xenoblade Warriors Holiday 2023 rumor?
That's not a real.
It's not a real rumor.
It's not a real thing. Listen, if I'm wrong, I'll play the game for 2 hours straight or something stupid. But like,
Xenoblade Warriors, that kind of makes sense though if they want to do a Warriors game for it.
They're not though.
It'd be cool if they did.
It'd be cool if they did, but they're not. I'd be shocked if there was a Xenoblade. I would literally be shocked. I don't think there is.
T-Joe says, how do you guys feel about PS5 games that are graphically demanding and can run at 60 FPS but run at 30 FPS instead? Neptunia does this. Less powerful PCs run it at 60. I'm not really sure why that happens, but it does, where games just don't look very good in general, or like it should be like handled, but then it's just capped at 30. So it's all over, but it's frustrating when it happens.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. Well, I always hate when they say, even when it does look good, I hate when they're like, well, ray tracing is important, so we have to make it run at 30 FPS. It's like, well, I'd rather it be 60 FPS and not have ray tracing.
You know what's interesting about this generation? I don't really see a lot of people calling for ray tracing or pointing it out as much. Like, ray tracing just didn't hit, I think, like, NVIDIA and AMD were hoping, because they're the ones who are going to provide the technology and sell video cards that'll basically profit off the idea of ray tracing, but I don't, whenever I go in, I don't go, oh, where's the ray, gotta try the ray tracing. I never really thought about it.
It's just one of those extra features that you get that a lot of studios don't really bother with, and ray tracing this generation, well, I think it's cool when they have it. Sometimes, there are some games that actually do look like good with ray tracing on. But honestly, I mean, the amount of performance that it eats up just isn't worth it. It's just really not worth it.
We're interested in it for the audio experience because they've been talking about the whole bouncing audio off and stuff. It's kind of a cool idea.
The tracing audio.
The graphics in Dead Space are so good that it like trips my brain up when you're like in a foggy room and you'll see a puddle at the bottom of a layer of fog and it will like reflect the light off the surface of it. So it's like, it makes me think like, and I don't think that's ray tracing. I played on performance mode. So it's like, all right, graphics are good enough. Just keep frame rate as high as possible.
Dr. Wolfstar says, OJ has never been more correct in his life. Nobody says, are we letting Forza get away with continuing to use those horrible old car models like the R32 and S15, not to mention the Forza Aero Wing again? People were mentioning the car models because I guess some were reused or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
how many games? This is 8, right? Forza 8.
it would be Forza 8, yeah.
I mean, come on. There's going to be some copy paste going on. Yeah.
My thing is, car games in general just look ridiculous. Like, even, I know people are, like, destroying Gran Turismo at one point for its visuals. I'm like, maybe it's just me. Car games just in general. I feel like we're getting that limit of, we talk about diminishing returns, like, we're like at the roof for car games. Like, I guess the environments around the cars now is the next focus, the crowds. I don't know. Cars just in general now, car games don't look great, so it's tough, I think, to get it much better. So, I guess ray tracing, there you go.
Focus on the crowds now. Gotta fix those models.
Yeah, right.
The Nintendo 64 characters like this.
I need ray tracing on the models when I'm driving past at 130 miles per hour.
I want to see the fear in their eyes, my car drifts into the crowd.
Drifting an inch from them, it's like I want to feel them cry on my hood.
Leo says, when do you think GoldenEye will be delisted? Probably like next year or something.
I don't think it's that early. I don't think that's when
It's probably like 5 years or something, yeah.
Well, end of the generation.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Well, hold on, the NSO, the account's going to carry over. It's going to be on the next one. They're going to take that game away from us?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, they probably will. ZBat says, yo, OJ, big fan here. Great video on controllers today.
That today.
I don't know. There's a great video on controllers today.
That is not today.
Well, you watched it today, so it's recent.
There you go. Jar says, with wages and contracts citing Metacritic scores, is it irresponsible to use 5-star scales not between 80 and 100? I don't know. Is it irresponsible to use the star system?
I think companies have sort of been moving away from that because of the backlash, haven't they?
For Metacritic?
I like the star system. I don't like 1 out of 5 stars.
Same.
I'm not. If you're gonna use the rating,
I also don't know if reviewers should feel responsible for people working on games not getting paid. I think that's more on the company.
Yeah, it is weird. I will say it is kind of strange to link pay to a website like Metacritic. I mean, it happens, but it's just weird that it happens. SLM says, Max, any update on the copyright strike on the video?
It got removed. It was a mistake. In my video was kind of blown up. I used a picture in my review of the DualSense Edge where somebody, a repair shop guy in Australia, had disassembled it and showed that the controller battery is actually smaller. I didn't credit him by accident. I just was editing the video fast, and he copyrighted me to give me the source. But it's totally cleared up. It was just an accident.
Yeah. Reese says, hey, OJ, how about them Cowboys? JK, congrats, man. You guys love what you all do. Need more positivity in games these days. Love the show. Keep it up.
still got the Cowboys is great, but I'm not really celebrating that too much because they already beat their ass last year with Jimmy Garoppolo, so I knew they were going to win this year. But the big thing is the Eagles. That's the thing. And then even if you beat the Eagles, you still got to either face Burrow or Mahomes. So it's not like, I mean, Niners is about winning championships. And I've seen the Niners win multiple championships, and that's cool winning playoff games, but I want a Super Bowl, you know. So
the Eagles are very good. Eagles are very good. Z-Bet says, hey, OJ, big fan here. RPG controller video was on morning.
6 a.m.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. Eastern.
There you go. Developer says, Hi-Fi Rush logo looks like the Gravity Rush logo. And David says, with the success of Game Pass and Series S, are physical copies for the Xbox worth collecting, or will things like the 70 megabyte Modern Warfare 2 disc make it pointless? I think the series ones, like, they're actually putting those on the disc now, right? Like, before it was weird because you would download the optimized version, because MVG did a whole 2-part series on that. Max, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I've stopped collecting physical Xbox games just because I get everything on Game Pass or I get a review code. So I feel like I have not bought a physical Xbox game since Gears 4.
It seems like they're not part of the value. But who knows? Who knows what happens in the future, you know?
Hey, I pick up any JRPG physically on the Xbox that you can.
Yeah. It's true. Everything alone, but I don't know. We'll see.
You get yourself Soul Hackers. Get yourself like a Final Fantasy 12.
Crisis Core, get that.
Crisis Core, yeah, it's going to get that. Just start loading up on the JRPGs for Xbox and you get it physically. And keep them sealed. Reese says, Hi-Fi Rush is Microsoft's best game in years. Hope they keep this energy up going forward.
Only game in years.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. They have Pentiment, right, Nate? Nate does support Pentiment.
They have Pentiment, which is up for a game of the year.
They haven't had much.
Shadow drops only. That's their new thing. Shadow drops.
Apparently, they should have shadow dropped Pentiment.
I think it's what's going to come for you, OJ. Paul's coming for you.
Just donate when you do, please.
I will say, I think Hi-Fi Rush is one of the most exciting releases Microsoft's had in a long time. And like Halo was probably the last big exciting release that they had. So Hi-Fi Rush is like, to me, it was a big pop for Xbox. Bad Gamer says, did anyone by chance see low-level Lemmies video last week? He took the PT demo and ported to PC, Android, and iOS, made them public as well. No, I did not see that. That is pretty cool, though. I did not know you could do that. Oh. Okay, we'll look into that. That's interesting. Played on iOS and Android? Huh. Let's see. Sugar says Dead Space remake is worth the full $70. All right, let's actually move into some Dead Space talk here. Dead Space is out. I was hoping Jordan would be able to make it for the podcast. I know he's a big Dead Space fan. I've got a chance to play 3 or 4 hours of it so far because they did this weird thing where they didn't release the game until 11 a.m. on Friday. Why? I didn't play that horror game at midnight. That is real strange. But 11 a.m. they released it, and I still didn't even get a chance to play it then until like Friday night. So I got a chance to play it last night mostly with the DualSense X controller. That's what I tested the controller with. But it is out now. I played it. Nate, you played Dead Space?
Yeah.
They played Dead Space. MG played some of it.
Yeah, I'm on chapter 5 right now.
Max played through it. All that.
20 hours. Well, I'm almost done with my second playthrough.
It is currently sitting at, is it an 89 still on Metacritic? Or did it fall again to like 88? I think it's at an 89 still. So it's right out of the gate, it's one of the highest rated games of the year already. That's kind of 89, yeah. Okay, that's a 58 review, so it's probably just about locked in. So, exactly as I expected, that Dead Space would just completely run over Callisto Protocol, despite Nate and Sean's best efforts to tell me that Dead Space was going to come out, and people were going to realize what it was what's been all along, this terrible mid-tier game. I sat there and I said, all right, we'll see what happens.
How did that happen? Was he drunk?
This is fan fiction.
Like, he lays in bed and imagines these narratives.
What do you do? Write it down in a little notebook next to you?
I heard an insult on Twitter once that said, "Stop imagining conversations in the shower, you bitch." And I was like, that's probably one of my favorite insults.
Sits there on the top like, what can I make up tomorrow night?
You guys are entertaining. I'm just enjoying watching.
It's so good. I'm blown away, man. I'm on my second playthrough now. I'm doing the plasma cutter run. So you only use the default gun, and I'm trying to do all these side quests. There's so much new lore. There's so much new writing. There's so many new side quests. This has got to be one of the best remakes of any games ever, flat out. I'm scrolling for receipts right now, Nate. Carry on. I know what Nate typed there. I know what he typed. There's a lot of scrolling involved, though. You basically came down to me just slapping up Callisto and you desperately trying to defend it with Dead Space's corpse.
You want to defend the use of VRS in Dead Space and how it completely models textures and makes them look abysmal?
They're patching it. They came in
On PC, they're patching it. They specify the PC version that will allow a toddler to remove it.
No, because Callisto Protocol looks definitely better than Dead Space.
Okay.
Yeah. It just does not play anywhere as good, and it's just not as good of a game.
Yeah, I platinumed Callisto Protocol a week before this came out, so it's very fresh in my mind.